Hello, hello. We are gonna make sure that we are up on both devices. How is everybody? Okay, we are up. I love having the comments on the computer. So as you join us, say hello. Let us know that you are watching. We will give this a second to let the interwebs know that we are live. I am so excited about today's conversation. Like, I am actually so excited to have this conversation with you, and this is such a needed conversation. And we are going to normalize all sorts of magic after today's conversation. So let's get situated. I'm gonna highly recommend too that as you watch this, hello Dana, yes, join the replay by all means. I want to encourage not to fuss taking a bunch of notes right now. Come back, watch the second time, because there'll always be more in it for you the second time, and that's a great time to actually pause, take the notes, reflect, journal on whatever's coming up. I would much rather you do it from that place than to try to be spending this whole time taking notes. So that being said, we will start to dig into it. Hello. We have literally just like this little bit of notes. I really want this to be a conversation. I'll honestly probably throw this on the podcast too, if I'm being honest, because this is just that needed. So this week, which is what has inspired this conversation, let's call it, we shared an offer that hasn't been talked about, there was no hints, there was no pre-launch, there was absolutely no launch plan, let's be honest. We'll get into that in a second. But when I shared this offer, it was simply something that felt really relevant. It aligned with like my capacity, what I was looking at, the way I'm desiring to work with clients. And so we shared it. And within 4 hours, we sold this offer out. This involved 2 Instagram stories, one being what it was, and the next story being how to sign up. There was nothing crazy about this experience, okay? And that's what I really want to send home today. And the conversation is, I really want to break down what led to that. What do I do inside of my business, inside of my brand? How do I mentally operate? How, like, all of these components that led to selling out an offer in 4 hours. That's the real beauty behind a lot of this. So let me know as you guys come on where you are from, what line of business or profession. Like, I want to know where you're at so that we can, of course, answer any questions as we go. If you want to share, what you're working towards, anything like that, I am happy to give you examples as I talk about what I've done, because I think that this will be really freeing if you allow it, right? So in the name of wealth and freedom from a place of nourishment and aliveness, I really want to dissect what it means to sell out, but I also want to bring you into a feeling. Hello, Paige. I want to bring you into a feeling of what does it actually mean to believe it's possible, and start there and get yourself curious. And this is why I invite you to watch the replay again and actually like sit, pause, reflect, because what does it actually mean to believe that you can sell out an offer? To post something and have total detachment from, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Who's going to buy? How are they going to buy? Will they? Just all the things. To detach from that and allow yourself to experience life so fully alive while you know that you get to sell the offers, sell them out, run them, support the clients, whatever that looks like in your business. But start with that belief, because that's where I catch a lot of clients, is that in between. We just actually put out a podcast on Tuesday, I think it was, or maybe it was Thursday, one of the days this week. We've got 2 podcasts out a week. One of them was all about this and like how to actually bridge that gap, what that means, what that looks like. But I want to invite you into also remembering that you're building a life while you scale this business, while you build this business, while you grow it, scale it, whatever that looks like, you're building a life. Actually think about that. And I can say from experience that you can build a life, or you can build a business, and from the point of view of like, oh, I'm doing this now so I can play later, work hard, play later, hustle now, play later, whatever the line is that you're allowing yourself to believe. I believed that. The first year in my online business, that was the story in my mind. If I do this now, I can do all those things later. And it took a good solid smack in the face of burnout, exhaustion, adrenal fatigue, resentment, and honestly just like missing life, missing being and feeling alive, to realize that we really are building a life while we build this business. And from my perspective and from the shifts that I've made and the way that I have been like shifted how I operate in my business, came from the belief that that aliveness, the way that we're living life, the way that we're experiencing life and choosing to do life, is going to overflow into every other area. It's going to be what overflows into your sales, into your business, into all the things, right? So I really want to leave that with you, because I think that that's a really important reminder that if you are doing this from a place of aliveness, that will always overflow. But I want you to think about the times when you just feel like, oh, nothing's working and there's so much resistance, or everything feels difficult and I just want XYZ result. And you're reminding yourself of all the things that aren't working for you, right? How often are you doing that and then trying to sell from that place, or trying to show up in your business or your life from that place? Are you able to turn off on either side of things? So when you're in your business, are you able to like be in your business and be alive about the impact you're making and be connected to your vision and actually truly feel the essence of aliveness, of excitement, of power, of purpose? And then when you go into your life, are you able to shut off the business and know that the business is still going and that content is doing its job and that your clients are being served when when you are in business hours, and when you're in your life? That's so that you can come back to that place of overflow, so you can overflow back into them. Are you doing that? Because I feel like that's where most clients that come into my world get really tripped up. And when we start to complicate that, everything else starts to feel complicated. Everything else starts to feel resistant, more sluggish, more blah, right? And then we're kind of creating that proof for ourselves that we don't even want, about how difficult it can feel, or about how much is required, or about how hard it is to sell online right now. There's like so many beliefs circulating right now and so many stories about how difficult it is to have sales online right now. And it's honestly hilarious, because I'm like, it's all a matter of what you're choosing to believe, because everything's a projection, right? If you want to believe that sales are hard right now, you're probably going to experience some difficult sales, some slower months. But what are you doing to feel alive? What are you doing to feel good in your mission? What are you doing to feel so lit up about the work that you do, the impact that you have, whether you have 1 client or 100 clients, whether you have no clients or 2 clients? What are you doing to make sure that you feel alive? Are you actually respecting the fact that you have to be willing to sometimes shut off business brain and go live a little, and vice versa? Because me sharing that story the other day, I don't remember, it was Wednesday, I guess. Today's Friday. Wednesday was from a place of overflow. Like, if nobody bought, I didn't also care. I wasn't fixated. But I also had a number of like, okay, that would be super cool to fill these spots, right? I would love to serve these humans in this way. You guys know, if you don't know, I'm a projector in human design, and I absolutely love going deep, having these types of conversations, shifting the way clients see things, right? So it's so easy for me to see from point A to point B and actually truly guide you on that way and call you forward into your own alignment while we do it. So that it does feel simple, it does feel aligned, it does feel alive, right? It feels like it's done your way. So I really want to bring this forward first and get you curious of, right, when was the last time I actually felt alive? And can I actually challenge myself? Can you challenge yourself to bring that forward more? To continue to bring that forward, to continue to prioritize that just as much as you prioritize all the other things in your business. When was the last time you prioritized how alive you felt? It's from that aliveness. I'm creating a podcast on this too, but it's from that aliveness that, hello, Nicole. It's from that aliveness that you will then create so much magic. That's where creativity flows. That's where downloads are received. That's where we get those intuitive hits. That's where we actually truly feel everything. And the beauty about that is that when we're overflowing from that place, that's felt. Just like our ownership is felt, just like our certainty is felt, your aliveness is also felt. And it's desired. Got to think about it. Most people that want a transformation because they're experiencing a reality they don't like. And unless they have that emotional intelligence already built and that mindset already built to understand that you have to stop thinking about those things before you'll have the other things, right? They're going to be leaning into you, leaning into how you make them feel. So that brings me to the next point of how do we do this then? How do we have offers that we can sell and sell out easily, efficiently, right? While feeling alive. How can we post something on the internet and have spots filled within hours, days, weeks, whatever that looks like, right? It's not always going to fill within 4 hours. It's not that we are saying it has to be that or it's nothing, but it's about the belief behind it all, right? And behind the belief, once we have that belief anchored in and we know what we want to normalize for ourselves, okay, how do we want this to be? How do we want this to look? What do we want to feel normal for us? What are we normalizing? You guys know I'm all about normalizing the unrealistic. So when you know what you are normalizing, you are able to actually focus on what's needed because your mind's not constantly going back over here. You're in certainty up here. Think about that for a second. How often you rob yourself of the aliveness that you want to feel in your day, in your life, in your business, in anything, your relationship, anything. Because you come up to your mental mind constantly, right? You're doing this. I don't know. Should I this? Should I that? They're doing that. They're doing this. And you are zapping. I was telling a client the other day, I'm like, every time you do that, you're zapping your life force energy. Every single time. And it's not easy. It's not easy. And I'm a human with you guys, okay? I'm a human, so I get it. It's not easy. But you have to be willing to see this. You have to be willing to have these conversations. Because it's these conversations that change how we do and look at absolutely everything else. I don't know if you guys can hear the construction that's going on all around me, but I apologize if you do. But this is really big, right? Because how I sold out an offer in 4 hours isn't some pretty graphic, isn't some landing page, isn't some launch plan, isn't because I warmed you up, isn't because I nurtured you in my DMs, isn't because I started any cold DMs, none. It's not because of any of the things that social media marketing wants us to think it is. And that's where, again, we have to pull out of that mental mind and come actually into our body for a minute. Okay? So there was a few things that take place on a daily basis inside of my business that I prioritize, that I do for myself, same things we work with clients, that made this difference, that actually created this result. And it's because my energy is set, my mindset is set. Like I said, I am certain. I know what my beliefs are. I take the time every single day to anchor into my beliefs, how I want to experience business and life, how I want to feel, what I want that to look like. All of the magic in that is set. I also know what I stand for, what I don't, what I want, what I'm working towards. So I don't have to second guess any of that. Do you see how much energy I'm already freeing up for myself? And how much time I'm freeing up for myself? Because I'm not second guessing anything. I'm in full certainty. And if I get out of that, when I step out of certainty, this is usually pretty easy to know. Okay, and you can let me know, like whether you're watching now or the replay, if you've ever felt that, if you know exactly that feeling where it's like, oh, I'm not feeling solid, I'm not feeling good, I'm not feeling lit up, I'm not feeling alive, I'm not feeling magnetic. I don't have my shoulders back, that knowing. Because within like 1 or 2 voice notes with a client, I can usually pick up as soon as they've dropped it. As soon as they've walked away from it, stepped out of it, something's happened to cause a wobble. It's quite easy to spot. And if we can get really good at identifying that and then cleaning that up before we continue to move, when we're moving, we move a lot quicker. Not only do we move quicker, but this is where the whole, oh my gosh, I just saved myself so many hours. Wow, I'm working so much less, but somehow creating more money. And nobody wants to believe that. How's that possible? How's that possible? How's that possible? Well, how much time in your day are you chasing your own tail? And then you're wondering why it's not working. And then you're feeding that belief. And it continues, it continues. I watch it happen. Like, I watch people do this. It's literally like a cyclone. As you're just chasing your tail, you're like just zinging through. And then that's overflowing into everything. Your burnout will overflow into every area of your life just as much as your aliveness will. But we don't talk about this enough. We don't want to slow down and talk about this. I have this huge jug of electrolytes. So let me know if this is landing. I'm really curious. Sit with this, watch this twice, honestly, especially this part, because this is so much more important than the how that I'm just about to break down. Because when I realized this part and stopped thinking, oh, well, it's because I didn't send enough emails. It's because my graphics aren't good enough. I need new graphics. I need a graphic designer. That's what I need. Or I need a new launch plan. I need that course that teaches me step-by-step how to launch. Jumping all over the place because you dropped your power. You started second guessing, and now you're not actually leading from the vision and the knowing, the certainty. And when you feel certain, you feel magnetic. And you don't have to try. And you don't have to be high vibes all the time. You just walk around with a knowing, an oomph, we like to call it. There's just that something about you that makes people want to learn from you. Makes people want to know what you're doing, how you're doing it, how that works. So, how often are you keeping yourself busy from a lack of certainty instead of slowing down to get yourself cleaned up and certain? Instead of moving with the certainty once you have it. Because that's how I've made some crazy, crazy ripples inside my life, inside my impact, inside my income. Because allowing for that. So the next step is my consistency in the next 3 areas. My consistency in showing up, my consistency in my ownership, and my integrity with my ownership, and my willingness to actually sell as much as I would like to receive. It's another big one. And selling doesn't have to be icky, right? You guys watch my stories if you're watching this. And I would hope that you've never felt icky from it, unless these topics trigger you, which is your own journey, and that's okay. And I see that too, and I hear that often, and you'll come back when you're ready, because I also see that, and that's okay. Some of these topics are uncomfortable. Creating wealth and becoming a wealthy person and normalizing money in general is uncomfortable. But it's also going to change your life, right? So my ownership and integrity with my values, my mission, my story, my work, breaking that down and creating safety for my audience, creating proof for my audience, things that your audience wants. Think about your buyers. Psychology-wise, what do they want? They want to feel safe. They want to trust it. They want proof. They want connection. So how do we do that? We storytell so that they feel connection. We storytell on our own journey. Okay, now we're creating proof and trust because we've done it. It's possible. We went first. If it's not something you've done and you're selling a product, what has your product done for you? You tried it first. Don't overcomplicate this. How can you start to storytell on your journey with whatever it is that you do or sell? Or why you started it? Can you break down clients' journeys and client stories? Because they're probably unique as well. Storytelling on our ownership of our values, what we value. A lot of my clients, I would say 90+% of my clients come to me because of my values, because our values align. Right? But they wouldn't know my values. Therefore, they probably wouldn't be clients if I didn't share them, if I didn't own them, if I didn't talk about them, if I didn't bring them into content, if I didn't expand on how I value freedom and quality, and that's why I do things the way I do, and why I structure things the way I structure, and why I have the strategies that I have. So if I didn't own any of that, there would always be that something missing. But because I'm constantly owning who I am, what I do, what I believe, what I desire, what I've been through, what I stand for, what I don't stand for, and I allow myself to speak into these things through story, through examples, through breaking down client stories or examples, through offering value of how I see it or what certain things mean, right? Through doing that consistently, my audience knows I'm for them. And so when I share an offer that aligns with them, they want it, right? When I share something that's within reach to them, that they desire, that they've been waiting for, didn't even know it, that just feels like a yes. I got so many DMs. This was a yes, I need this. When we own who we are, we allow them to see if we are for them. And when we own who we are, you're not going to be attracting people that aren't for you. Simply put. Simply put. So my willingness to own who I am, own my story, own my beliefs, own my values, own my approaches, own what I see in the industry, and bring that forward and wrap that back around to the offer that I'm selling, my willingness to do that and do it consistently is how I get consistent sales. That's how I get my audience used to hearing about my offers, getting to know my offers, getting to familiarize themselves with my offers, what it would be like to work with me, what that would look like. That's the power of that. And that's where so many get tripped up when it comes to the marketing piece. We made a shift in one of my clients, private clients' messaging. She came to me, gorgeous community built, incredible views, large email list, all the things, but not consistently converting. Right? First goal was 10K months. I'm like, okay, we made 3 tweaks to her messaging, bringing in ownership, bringing in actually letting them know more about the offer and owning the offer inside of her storytelling. She was waking up to 30 DMs for an offer, right? Having people convert, 3 applications coming in at a time to work with her in her high-level mentorship. This is not in the business space, by the way, either. This is in the nutrition space. So many people don't want to actually own what it is that they're doing and let their audience feel that certainty, right? Because if I'm unapologetic about what I'm selling, you're going to trust it a lot more. Whereas if I was like, oh, so I have this thing, and like, if you want to buy it, you can, but like, don't feel like you have to. And like, I think it's really incredible and it's going to be really great. You're going to be like, I'll probably wait this one out. Right? But if I start speaking to those of you that are absolutely tired of spinning your wheels, making okay money, but ready for great, ready to actually finally take a risk on yourself so you can have an unrealistic life, stop normalizing the normal around you, put yourself in a room that's really powerful and going to support you on an individual level so you can actually normalize those 10K, 20, 30K months, you're gonna be like, yeah, I think I'm in. There's a really big difference, a really big difference. This is why you focusing on the first half of this conversation is going to be vital for the second half. Let me know if you're making that connection, because it's so, so big. Like, you guys want to know what my Voxer conversations are like? They're a lot of the first half of this call. Calling people into their actual aliveness, calling them into what they actually have to say, helping them break down their own unique ownership, because it's all unique, right? And turn that into messaging that converts. Helping them see the little tweaks that they could be making in their messaging to help with this. And then it's about consistently doing that, so that when you do share an offer, your audience actually knows who it's for. They actually know it's for them. They actually know that they want to work with you. They actually know that they admire you. They actually look up to the work that you're doing. I wish I could stay. I'll come back for replay. Yes, yes, yes. This will be a big replay one. It's a Friday morning, you guys. There's no pressure to stay. This conversation just needs to be had and needs to be listened to. So this is a really big one. And I hope that this is landing for you so you can start to understand, like, the more that I own who I am, the more that I also allow myself to live, right? Stay clear. Even if it's every single day, you have to remind yourself of who you are, what you do, what you own, what you stand for, what you don't stand for, and what it is that you want to normalize for yourself. Then go into your life and your business, right? Moms, I see you. There will be a dramatic shift on how you approach your business, how you approach the little moments in your life, how you approach the moments that aren't so ideal. I definitely had a full-blown mom morning this morning, and I haven't had one of those mornings in probably 3 years with my kids. And I had the option, right? I can have a not ideal moment with them and help them through non-ideal moments, or we can have a not ideal day. And so we had a not ideal moment and we got out of it and we're having a really great day. But had I not woken up and taken the time to activate myself, maybe it would have been different. Probably not, but a couple of years ago it would have been very different, okay? This is all built. This is all built and normalized. And so I had to do all the things I'm telling you right now. I had to learn all the things that I'm telling you right now. I had to normalize this way of being for myself based on who I was, what I wanted, how I wanted to live my life, and what I was normalizing inside of my vision and inside of my reality. I had to do all of this work too. So because I stay, let's try and get through this. I don't want to keep you guys for a crazy long time because a lot of you are going to be relying on the replay, but because I consistently own who I am, I reflect on my journey, the little snippets, and then bring it around to my offer, why I created my offer, right? What this means for them, what they're going to learn, whatever it is. And I detach. I'm like, they'll know if it's for them, and that's amazing, and I can't wait. And maybe it's not this time, maybe it's the next time I share it. Okay. Like I said, when I shared that story Wednesday, I think it was noon. No, it wasn't even noon. I think it was 10 a.m. or something. Because it was sold out by the time I picked my kids up from school. When I shared that, I was like, let's see if anybody else wants it. What happened was a client came back. And that's just kind of what made sense to wrap up the year together. And so I was like, you know what? I never talk about these on stories. It's been a solid year, if not more. Let's share about it. Boom. And it's not like a $100 offer either, right? So that's why, again, go back to the beginning half. If that still feels like there's something in your beliefs that makes you feel like that's going to be difficult for you or in your audience. And then ask yourself, what are you normalizing on a daily basis? For yourself, which then overflows into your work. So this is why this is super important. Chair stuck. This is why this is as important as I'm saying, because from there, it's felt in your message. And then that's compounding, right? Your message every single day done consistently, your ownership done every day consistently, your selling every day consistently, it's all compounding. And when you start to truly bring yourself alive and get yourself centered into your ownership and living your life and actually being all of you, not the watered down versions of everybody else. There's a podcast coming on that I just created. That's felt. It's like, oh my gosh, something is different. The people that have been in your audience waiting to buy from you, waiting to do this work with you, oh my goodness, I can't speak, waiting for this version of you unconsciously, right? They're like, oh my gosh, I'm ready. I've said this from the very beginning. I tell clients all the time. I feel like this is probably in every single one of my curriculums too. There are always people in your audience waiting for the next level of you and they don't even know it. But when they feel it, they'll know and they'll move. But so often we get fixated on what's not happening in this moment that we hold ourselves back, we play small. Then we question, we doubt, and we water ourselves down. What if we stop being available for that and we took that time when we catch ourselves being like, oh, I'm not feeling great, to go to paper, a voice note, whatever works, a mentor, and bring it to life. Hey, this is how I'm feeling and this is not what I want to normalize. And get centered back into who am I, what do I stand for, what do I want? Recognize yourself, self-recognition. Huge, huge. We call it a personal strategy. Strategy for the human when it comes to scaling. Okay? And get yourself centered into your ownership. And then go to your business and see what feels different. There'll be that little bit of oomph behind your message, that little bit of oomph behind your selling, a little bit of oomph behind your smile in your stories that day if you're explaining something. Everything feels like it comes with a lot more purpose that way. And it is felt. Okay? From there, when I'm selling, I'm not selling to check it off a box. Right? I am coming back to what I shared at the beginning of this, I'm building a life while I build this business, and I get to choose how I feel while I do both, and both of them get to support one another. How freaking incredible is that, first of all? Like, when you have a business that's an extension of you, it's such a beautiful invitation to clean up everything, to actually check in with how and what you are leading for yourself. Because so much can happen when you clean that up and you take actual responsibility for it. So when I'm selling, I'm prioritizing making sure that I feel alive. I'm prioritizing making sure that this offer actually feels good. Like, I actually want to sell this offer. Because if I actually want to sell this offer, I have a lot to say. And so often I feel like people are just like throwing a whole bunch of Canva slides up there just in hopes to make a sale. Or they are telling a story, making it more complicated than it has to be before they'll actually like go and share the offer to make the sale. But what actually matters is how you feel. Because if you're like, oh, I don't know what to say, but I need to sell the offer, or, you know, whatever the case is, I need to make a sale, but then I'm playing small because I haven't made a sale in a week. It's all felt. It's not like they're pinpointing exactly what's going on, but the lack of aliveness is felt. And so it's an invitation to check in with your life, with you, your well-being, right? In the name of building success and wealth that's nourishing. Because when I am 80 and I look back at this life that I've built for myself, and this business and this mission and this impact and generational wealth that I've created, I want to be like, damn, I really lived. Not, oh my gosh, I regret chasing my own tail for years, trying to prove myself or trying to be like somebody else. That's a big one. So I'm really curious how this conversation will be landing with you, and I invite you to my DMs to let me know, especially when you're watching the replay. But prioritizing that and selling can dramatically change everything for you. Dramatically change everything from you. If you've been doing the same thing and it's not working, it's time to have a different conversation, right? It's time to ask yourself if you're actually clear on who you are and what you stand for before you continue to try to sell something that's not selling. Or could be selling more. Even myself, still to this day, okay, at this level of my business, said to my mentor the other day, I want to have a conversation around my messaging because I feel like we could be increasing numbers right now. Me leaning in for support, knowing what I want is greater, knowing that I could maybe have a blind spot that I don't see, and looking for support on that. Okay? So you can always hold both. You can do it all. You can have it all. But how are you making it true for yourself? How are you normalizing it? And are you actually normalizing it in a way that feels good, or from a place of pressure, a place of, well, I've got to do it like she's doing, or I have to message like she's messaging, or I have to brand myself the way she's branding herself, or I have to have offers like she has. You don't. You guys already know that, right? I've shared so much proof to that. But prioritizing how I feel while I do every single thing is a must for me. An absolute must. I want to feel so good while I'm selling something and while I'm inviting you into it, while I'm welcoming you into it, right? People want to pay you. Do you want them to pay you? I feel like that's such a powerful question, because it's like, well, yeah, I do. Ooh, but wait a minute. Do I? And am I being someone that I would want to pay? The way I'm showing up, is it the way that I would be invested into watching? And checking in with these things. Especially if you're doing this solo right now, meaning like you don't have support, you don't have, guidance, and you've been doing this solo. That's a really big one, to make sure you're constantly checking with integrity of what you stand for, what you align with, your ownership, and everything is in integrity with that, because that's where it truly flows. I can be out living my life. So it's Freedom Friday. Happy Freedom Friday, by the way. And after this session, I'm going to answer my clients in Voxer, probably from a walk. I might take myself out for a coffee or lunch. And I'm gonna be living my life. I might actually start Christmas shopping, which is crazy. I'm gonna be living. And I will have so many aha moments, so many downloads. I will have great insight to share with clients. I will have things to bring to my containers next week. I might even have another offer, be like, you know, you should share this. There's somebody in your audience that needs this. But that's because everything is clean, right? So starting at the very beginning of the call, my beliefs are clean and centered. I know who the hell I am. I know what I stand for. I know what I want. I know what my audience wants. I know my audience well. I know how to message to them, right? Everything's clear. I'm not consuming anybody else's content. I'm not worrying about what they're doing. I'm not worrying about what they're offering. I'm not worrying about how they're offering it. I'm not questioning my own desired belief. So if you want, here's another big one I see. Well, I want a business where I don't have to launch, but I can just share the offer consistently and have people come in consistently, much like my business model, for example. But then they're like, oh, but it's so hard to do that. And I'm like, okay, we have to go there. That's where we have to go first. Because so often we're like actually stopping ourselves right before getting what we want because we're second guessing the beliefs we desire to have because we're not taking the time to normalize them. But when everything is clean and you know what you believe and you know what you're leading and you know what you're living, you're like open to miracles. You're like actually open to everything you want happening in a way that you want it to happen. And you trust yourself and you've got your shoulders back and you are actually doing the things you say you're going to do in full integrity. Things keep happening. Magic keeps happening. There is like a slight bit of like almost delusion to this, okay? But that's why only 1% have what most of us want, right? And if you're desiring to become, you know, a 1% of your age or your community or whatever you compare that to, or you even just know what it is that you want from your life, for your life, for the future lives coming from you possibly, you have to be willing to look at this differently than everybody else is. You have to be willing to look at it differently because that's the only way you'll start to have different outcomes. Good morning, Hope. So I really want to invite you into that. Invite you into really looking at anything that needs to be cleaned up, anything where you're holding back and you're not actually owning the offer, owning the outcomes, owning who you are, owning what you've done, owning what this offer, product, service has done for you. And then mastering the storytelling behind that. That's where you want to go. So listen to this twice, hang out in this energy, be open to miracles, expect the unrealistic, but you can't expect it if you're holding yourself back in your belief system of second guessing the beliefs you desire to have. So these are all things that we teach you in every single container: Freedom Society, 6-Figure Coach, private coaching options. Good morning, lovely. So I invite you, if this is something that's been really true for you, if you are tired of chasing your tail, if you're ready for more in a more simplified and nourishing way, you can just DM me. We'll discuss what options are best for you so you can normalize your own desired reality. But let this be proof that the only limit is our mind, our mental mind. Our only limit is what we're not willing to do, even though we desire it. Okay? I love you all so much. Enjoy this replay. I can't wait to hear what you have to say. And we will put this up on the podcast eventually too in the coming weeks so that you can keep it in your ears, your favorite parts, whatever it is. Make sure you come back. I can't wait to hear what you think. Have an amazing Friday.